Hi guys, welcome to today's session. Now for this session, it's going to be simply broken into two parts. The first one is we'll simply go through a slide that I created, and this slide is specifically deliberate to explain to you how to go about finding gigs. You understand? Then the second part will be mostly about Upwork. But for now, this video will simply just be about the slide and we can go through. So now the reason is, why am I creating this slide? Because for some of us now, you might be at an unfortunate circumstance whereby you're out of a job and you need to feed family, you need to pay the bills, and as you quite know, it's quite difficult to technically get a job because you have to go through series of interviews. Sometimes you have to wait for offer letters. Like for instance, I've done series of interviews waiting for offer letters, and that's as long as 3 weeks, and within those 3 weeks you need to leave and pay bills. So this guide is just for something on this side, and also it's also good for you because, like for instance, I've been sacked twice, and it's not because of performance, it's just because of either policies or financial circumstances. So you want to be at that point where you can stand on your own and do something. It's not really like you want to be a freelancer 247. It's up to you. You can run your business or anything, but it's just as an alternative. You understand? As an alternative. So we'll simply start through the slide, and let me get rid of that stuff. So the slide is called A Guide to Earning on Upwork Platform and Remote Jobs by me, Okewa Adiremi. Now I'll just go through a simple slide about me. I'm a full stack developer. I like to write code, so I like to do front end, back end, mobile, sometimes DevOps. I just find it fascinating. And I tend to do independent contract jobs where I work for clients and do things. I used to do technical writing at a point, but not anymore. I don't do open source anymore because I need to get paid, so I'm not interested in that. Then my interests, I love 3D graphics, anything related to 3D graphics, because I do love gaming, emulation research, and I'm always on Linux. I don't know, I just love Linux. And these are the companies I've worked with. I used to work at InterSwitch, where that's one of my best experience because I was taught about building enterprise softwares, understanding customer needs, and when you build things from a customer centric point of view, not just writing code just because you want to just write code. You have to understand what type of code you're writing, how it impacts the customers, the value you're giving. So then Linkio was most of web agency, Andela, and some of this. I used to write articles for Packet, and yeah. So I would share this slide along with YouTube, so in case you want to check out my LinkedIn, GitHub or something. Now, in this slide, once you get this slide, it has some, once you get this slide, it actually has some footnotes to it. Sorry, let me bring it up. So in case you need more information, you can always just click it there. So it's not just like slides all through. A lot of them actually have footnotes, so I just wanted to bring that up. So now, what's the gig economy? And now I'm not going to verbatim read this slide word for word, but the gig economy is this kind of economy where you have people willing to offer projects to contract developers, and so that way there isn't this type of full-time employment package. It's just a kind of thing like contractual. You do a job, you get paid, and you moved on. It's mostly short-term commitments, and the beauty about it is that sometimes it could be a disadvantage, especially when you take too much gigs, but it depends on your setup. If you have a team, or if you have, for instance, now I have a group of interns that we share the gigs. So they're in Nigeria, I'm in Malta. So even if I was to pay them $500 to do something as simple as HTML or JavaScript, that's like 500k. That's almost salary of some bank people. So yeah. So that's just one of the beauty of the gig economy. It's a free market. Yeah, it's free for you to participate in, work with companies, and you get to meet a lot of founders and technical founders. Let's put it like that. So now this is one of the problems about finding gigs on Upwork or even just remote gigs. Now the first problem is kind of like, what skill should I learn? A lot of people want to learn freelance. They'll be like, I'm looking for a freelance job, but they don't know what type of freelance job they're looking for. So the skills usually matters. You need to know what type of skill, because every skill has a learning path towards it. There's a learning curve to it. So you need to know what type of skill do you want to learn. Then the second one applies to the context of Nigerian freelancers. Most of them are not really familiar with finance and the channels of wiring foreign transactions. But luckily, we have a lot of startups today that offer a lot of ACH accounts where you can easily collect money in dollars and, you know, sell to Naira. Yeah, some people might frown about that because, it's what's responsible for driving up, But I'll be honest, I even during my freelance time, I had a lot of platforms that I used, such as Gray, such as Wise, and I've forgotten the other one. GPay. I use GPay a lot. I practically pulled in close to like around $7,000 through GPay. So that was where I got the gift from GPay. The other problem with finding a remote job on Upwork, and this particularly deals with Nigeria as a context, is electricity and internet connection. There's a lot of problem with electricity, power issues and all. So sometimes the alternatives could be find a workspace. Then lack of computer illiteracy. If you are going to enter freelance, you need to be literate about how to use a computer, and to a degree. Now the next one is analysis paralysis. Like, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do. I am a victim of that because I have too much knowledge in too many domains. So I tend to play. Today I could be Chrome extension, I could be WordPress, I could be Shopify, I could be Airtable, I could be PHP, I could be deploying Spring Boot. So there's just too many. So it's often good to focus on some few things, or do a cycle of moving around domains. Maybe 1 year you can do Chrome extension for 1 year, then you can try out Airtable the next year. So the next one is what to write in my proposal. Now for that, I won't spend too much time on that. I'll just simply move to the next slide and I'll circle back to that later on. And these are some of the committees used by remote workers. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's on the slide, so you can go through this at your own convenience. And now these are some of my achievements joining Upwork. I got a full-time, this slide is a bit old, so some of things have changed, but I got a full-time engineering role with a company in the US. ReferMate, I still work with that company. The second one I don't anymore. I've done my job. Then I got a top-rated badge on Upwork, and that was very awesome because it took me a lot of work to do that. And also, then migrating to Shopify development and mobile engineering. 24 extensions has increased. It's 28 now. I have 4 concurrent full-time clients. That has increased also. Offer relocation. I actually used my Upwork during Malta when I was relocating. So almost financial independency. So currently I'm unemployed, but I always get gigs from clients. And the funny thing is, maybe because I spend most of my time not really applying as much as others, so I just take enough to be okay, to be able to pay the bills and to be okay. I don't really go overboard. But now that I have interns, we're actually exploring that. The truth about Upwork is there are days where I can do a Chrome extension in 1 day or in a week, and I can get like $1,500 and get $300 here. And in Malta, the cost of living is cheap. When I was in Nigeria, I was unemployed at a point when I got sacked Mandela, and I couldn't really feel it much because I could make like 1.5 then was like 1.5 M, and my rent then was like 1.2, so I could pay my rent in 1 gig, and for the month all I just do is food, save up money and everything. Then I had time for exercising and physical comfort, so I'll put that as an achievement. Now I coined this part very well because there are a lot of people, especially Nigerian freelancers, you need to have a realistic approach to finding gigs, especially for a first timer. And finding gigs is very hard, especially if you don't have an idea of what you're trying to do. You understand? So me, while I was trying to find gigs, I've been on Upwork for a long time and it was really complex. So I always have this research methodology towards any approach. Like, okay, I need to jot things down, analyze, find out how to go about it. And one of the things I realized that while trying to apply for gigs is that before you apply for a gig, you have to understand like how are gigs classified. Like, it's not just enough to say I just want to get a gig. You need to understand what type of gig do I want to get, what category is it, because everything about life is like in data, everything is stratified. So this gig belongs to this category, that belongs to this domain. So you need to be understand of that. You need to understand that. So In the next slide, I did a breakdown of how you can classify gigs. And on Upwork, when I was going through Upwork, I noticed some things like you could find some gigs that are platform based. And when I mean platform based, you're looking at WordPress, Shopify, Odoo, Amazon SP. Then services based gigs like virtual assistants, or these are services you perform in exchange for what you call it, for getting paid. Then tool sets, maybe like Blender, Adobe Premiere. These are gigs tied to a specific tool set. Then tech gigs. Sometimes some of this classification might, you know, the description of it might actually fit the other, but it's just for me to be specific about it. So you might find a lot of platform gigs and tech gigs, but for tech gigs, I'm looking at like coding, programming, anything that has to do with tech. Then creative gigs like design and everything. Now niche gigs could actually still fall under most of this platform, but niche are like, they're so niche that it's almost impossible to find competition within there. And what do I mean? You're looking at Moodle development. Moodle development is really, really difficult. Or instructional learning. You're not going to find much people there like that. So if you have a stand, or if you have a foothold into that niche gig, you stand a great chance. Like for me, my niche gig is Chrome extension, because I'm very good at it. That they're not really much they're Chrome extension developers, but we're not that much like that. So it's possible for us to enjoy a certain amount of gigs towards us. And I did a further full list, but you can get this slide so you can see this. I give examples of what niche gigs could be like, you know. And I need to bring up to that point because most developers have this issue of when they're looking for gigs. Like for instance, now I'm a JavaScript developer, they look for React gigs, but instead what you should be doing is that you should be looking for gigs that for instance, now Shopify uses JavaScript, Airtable uses JavaScript, Monday.com uses JavaScript, N8N uses JavaScript and Node. So there are a lot of platforms that use JavaScript. So if you're looking for generalized gigs, you might have a lot of competition. But if you're looking for platform gigs that still use JavaScript, you might find yourself, So yeah, so this is the classification of remote work, and it goes on. Now, these are some of the best advice that I coined out to finding gigs. And number one is you need to join a community with shared interests. So meaning you need to join communities like Nexascale, forums, Slack. And I'll give you an example now. Shopify has a Slack group for Shopify partners. There's close to 7,000 partners there that own Shopify stores, maybe more than 7,000. And now the thing is that for 7,000, even though you might not get maybe like 50%, if you're a Shopify developer and you interact, you share, you have discourse over Shopify development, there's a strong chance that you're able to snag a client or something, once they're interested in what you have to share. I've actually gotten a client from Reddit before in the Chrome extension group. The guy was asking questions about Chrome extension and I just answered. And, I was like, are you interested in a job? And I said yes. And from there, I joined an Upwork. And that's one of the clients that turned me to full-time. That's ReferMate. So you should join a lot of forums. Airtable has forums. They have a job board. Moodle has a forum community. They also have a job board. WordPress has forums too. And most of these forums, a lot of people that are there are not technical people. They have issues. So I often go there and like to chat with people. Like I'm in ProcessWire forum and I've written a lot of articles where I had to migrate from WordPress to PHP. And there was a time I wrote an article about building my website in ProcessWire and using Twig extension. And someone actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. Like, I'm interested in that. Facebook groups, you can join some Facebook groups. It's just that Facebook groups is not as popular as before, and also with LinkedIn group, but you mostly would like to join Slack, Discord, and such. Now, for the second one, you need to develop a personal brand. So before anyone works with you, let's put it like this way. I want to work with you, but I don't know anything about you. There's no social media footprint about you. So right now, if you're looking for me, you will find my Twitter. And if you notice, when I'm tweeting and I'm talking about Chrome extension, I like to put a lot of hashtags so that when you're searching for that hashtag for Chrome extension, you're going to find my tweet. And when you find my tweet, I have a link tree there. You're going to find my website, you're going to find my LinkedIn, you're going to find my Upwork. So that's enough social evidence, like this person is really tied to what it's really doing. And you know, it's a thing of influence. You know, when you see somebody, and that's one thing a lot of people don't get. When you apply without, because someone is taking a bet on you, they don't know anything about you. And let me crack a joke. And the fact that you're Nigerian, it doesn't really help that there is a negative connotation towards scamming tied to our image. So you need to go above and beyond to ensure that you have a positive, you have that positive image. So I would say develop a personal brand. And I'll give you an example of people that do that on Twitter. There is this lady, Uzizi. I've forgotten. I'm sorry for if I messed up her name. I follow her and she has a very good Twitter profile. Where she talks about what she does and everything. She's on Upwork. She writes articles. She tweets. Then also Gbenga Adeniyi too. You can see his profile there. Is tested and trusted. So you can see he posts things like that and everything. Then number 3 is to always have a medium for your work. Now, everything you build, and I'll give you this philosophy, I'll give you this quote that if a tree fell in the leaf and nobody was there, then it's good to say that there was no tree and nothing fell. And what does that mean? Is like, if your work is not out there, then it means you've done no work. There is this guy, Kelvin Dominos. He does the indie hacking thing, and it's always particular about, you must put your work out there, build in public, and so always build in public. So for instance now, and I'll tell you how to do it depending on what kind of person you are. If you are a front-end developer, have some Vercel, some all these static sites that show your work. If you are a mobile engineer, you can still have a site, take screenshots of your UI, put it out there. And if you're a back-end developer, it's hard to show. There's this joke I always have for back-end developer that when people ask for your work, you show them Postman. But you could record a video and put it on your YouTube. So you show them like, this is the application you built, this is the response and everything. Now, the next one is upskilling. And I'll tell you why upskilling is very important. You might be in a situation, let's say for instance now, I'm doing Chrome extension now, and it's gotten to a point where there ain't much Chrome extension gigs anymore. I have to start looking for the next niche, something that has more demand. So lately now, I follow the trends, and I noticed that no code, low code tools are available. So what you want to do is take a look at those, then upskill. You spend time on YouTube, and I would say in this generation it's quite easy now, because back then upskilling was tough. I remember back then when I wanted to learn PHP, I had to actually like sneak a PHP book for my company to learn it. But today there's YouTube, there's so many content creators willing to create content for you for free, and sometimes some paid, like Pluralsight and Udemy. And some of these things are investment in your career, so you look at it as self-investment. So what's the ROI? Because for instance now, if I upskill in Salesforce, I know that I would be able to either get Salesforce consultancy job or a Salesforce job itself, or just Salesforce integration gigs. You understand? Now, the number 5 is the one I like. I like to go for the complex projects. That's the ones that a lot of people like to go for HTML and CSS gigs, and you're going to find a lot of competition right there. I like to go for the complex one. So I would spend my time studying Moodle architecture, or if I have to learn Salesforce, or if it has to be like Spring Boot, because the more technical it is or the more complex it is, the higher the barrier to entry. So I mean, you don't want a job where there's too many competitors. You want something where you can enjoy some niche or some dominance in there, pending you get some money from it. So yes, so these are the tips that I actually coined out when I realized that I was searching for gigs, and I started to research for that. Now, when I created this, there weren't much payment platforms, but right now there is a lot of payment platforms offering ACH services and virtual bank accounts. So GPay is more than enough. Gray is okay. There are some other platforms, but I haven't added them yet. But maybe at some point I probably would update this slide. So I would just advise like you find out payment platforms that give dollars, euros, and pounds, so that once you get them, you can easily exchange in naira. For me, when I was in Nigeria, I'd use a lot of GPay and Wise. So I'll get my money in Wise. The reason why I get my money in Wise is because GPay is. I have nothing against GPay, but at the end of the day, it's still a Nigerian, and the government can come and give some stipulations over things. So I just put my money in Wise. So whatever I need, I move it to GPay. Then from GPay, I can now convert it to naira as such. Then there are some of you that have been abroad before, so you have the benefit of having previous PayPal accounts while you were in different countries. But for me currently now, I use Revolut and Wise, and the reason why I use the Revolut now is because it offers ACH accounts, and it's tied to my card. So once it's paid into my account, I can just use my card and pay for bills and food and everything. Now the question is, why should I freelance? This question was for me, but it could also help you. Now one of the reasons I freelance was because I used to have that saying that whatever I can't get in my job, I'll get it in freelance, because I never used to complain about salary. Even if my salary was low, because there was a point I was earning 150k and I would never complain, and promotion scale could be low, but I'll be able to do some gigs and make 3 times my salary. So at the time my salary was 6 for 2 months, and I was still dealing on freelance. So it gives you that multiple freelance model, because the economy is a bit tight, so you need to pull in as much multiple sources of income as much as you can. And this is especially for family people, whereby the household, once the salary comes, the household could deplete most of it. So if you have multiple sources of income, it kind of helps. Now if you're in, I don't want to say third world countries, but if you're in countries where the dollar has a high exchange rate, you can enjoy that the FX rate. So that's the advantage of foreign currency. Because when I was in Nigeria, what I used to do is I won't take complex gigs. I would take gigs I could do in a day or so. So I would take like maybe one Chrome extension gig. It will give me $300, and I could finish it in a day. And I'll do that for the week. So that's like 300k in naira. But in USD, $300. Well, $300 might not be much, but you'll still do something, I guess. So there's the global market opportunity, exposure. Now, since I joined Upwork, I've met technical founders, I've met people that own companies, I've met CEOs, and the beauty about it is just that you get to meet a lot of people. And once that happens, a lot of these guys will want to keep working with you, because there's this Chrome extension, ReferMate. I actually rebuilt it from scratch. I did the design pattern. Me and another freelancer called Edem. I don't spell his surname, but he's on Twitter. I probably would tag him in this Twitter post. And the beauty of that is that most times I get calls like, oh, let's work on this project, let's do this. So even without finding clients actually do reach out to me, because of once you do a good job, like I said, the reward for good job is more job. Then control of working conditions. Now this is a beautiful part, because I remember I used to be at the gym and I would work from home. I work from the gym, I'll go somewhere, like the way remote Oliver does. I'll just go outside, not stuck at home, work from anywhere, collect my money and live a simple life. I know it's the same thing with flexible working lifestyle. Then there is independence from the labor market. So that even if you don't have a job, you always have something on your own. And the thing is that it's not linear in a sense, like it's not a job that's 50k every month. Today you could get a gig, $500. Tomorrow it could be 2,000, and you never know. Now the digital nomad lifestyle. As I'm talking to you, I'm currently in Malta. I don't have a job, but I have gigs that I do left and right. So that's been sustaining me. But the thing is that I'm not as I don't push for much gigs like that because I have to practice. I have to do my own personal projects and such. So these are one of the, especially as a Nigerian, you want that kind of lifestyle where you know I don't want to use this because it's a Gen Z talk like that vibes kind of lifestyle. Where you go to the beach, you can walk or do all these pretentious activities and such. So that's one of the beauty about it. Now you can find resources over here. You know how to find freelance niche and everything. Which brings me to the next point: mentorship. Mentorships are important. Reach out to, and I'll give you an example. Day before yesterday, someone reached out to me for Upwork guide, and he has spent like 600 connects. And we went through his profile. I did some things for him, and he applied for a gig the next day, and he actually got the job. Now, why does mentorship help? A lot of times, you are new into the industry, you're not sure of what path to take. So a mentor will easily guide you. I would say Benga Deni is an example of one because I've seen him guide people into getting freelance gigs and such. I should be doing mentorship, but it's just because as a developer, most of my time is used coding. So maybe creating content like this might help. So mentorship helps for easy guidance and support, learning based on experience and career direction. You understand? There are people that I feel you should follow, like Sir Alex. He's a Java enterprise person, and he will steer you into, if you're a programmer, he'll steer you into that enterprise part of being a developer. Now, skills to look into for non-tech. A lot of times, people associate remote jobs with tech, but the truth is that even on Upwork, most of the Nigerians that out earn on Upwork are actually non-tech guys, and the reason why, because their jobs are tied to like hourly type of thing. So you could be a virtual assistant, and if you do hourly, you're going to make more than a developer that does fixed projects. So there's virtual assistant, there's social media manager. So if you can manage TikTok accounts, Discord, Facebook, because a lot of these social media platforms from overseas want somebody to manage all these things. They don't want to do all these things, especially maybe manage Twitch comments or something. Then UI UX for, now this is very important, in number 3. If you're a UI UX designer, you don't necessarily have to do mobile mockup or web mockup. You could do pitch deck, because people have startups, people have ideas, and sometimes the designs of these ideas and pitch decks usually impresses maybe stakeholders or such. So you could look into those, like office reports, designs, all this infographics type of thing. Then there's transcriber. I added that because I noticed that I saw a lot of transcriber groups, so I'm not going to speak too much on that. Now the next part is, which I will speak much on, is content management. Now content management and virtual assistants are kind of tied in together, because you could be a virtual assistant where your job is to manage context for certain platforms like WordPress, Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce. So, and the thing is that you could be a content manager of XYZ platform. So whatever platform exists, you could be a content manager of that, or virtual assistant. So if there's monday.com, ClickUp, it means you could also do that. Virtual recruiter, I'm not going to spend much time on it. I just brought it up there. And there are more of these gigs. You just need to research and find, go on Upwork, sometimes search talents and find out what people are doing. You can find out what people are doing in your country. I tend to search what people are doing in my country what people are doing based in the country. So I'll just say, okay, this guy is doing this guy is doing that. Take a note and note everything down. Now, here is a guide to opening Upwork. You need to identify the skills you intend to offer, build a great profile, and invest in a skill. The next slide will talk on this more. So now, when you're identifying the skills, you have to find out, the first question is, what skills are in demand? And I also laid out some tips for identifying an Upwork, like studying the Upwork inside, like the trends. So Upwork usually has this Upwork reports where they share trends around jobs, like what's trending, what's not. So I would say it's good to actually read their report and find out. They have a PDF called Not Just Tech 2024. It talks about all the jobs that are in demand that are not tied to tech. Then, as before, break down the classification to identify what industry to play in. And what that means is, like, for instance, now, if you want to be an LMS developer, that means you're going to be in that education slash business type of industry, because a lot of schools use LMS and businesses use LMS to reduce the cost of in-location training. They can do a kind of virtual training, so they would require VLE. So knowing how to classify those skills matters a lot. Now, what skills has the lowest barrier to entry? So what skills is easy for you to get into and move on? As of then, UI UX to me, I felt was a more accessible skill in the tech industry, but lately, no code has displaced that. So another thing you want to look about is how profitable is the skill. You understand? You need to know that, because there are some skills that are not really profitable, and I won't say they're not profitable. Like, there are some skills that for you to earn a lot, you have to do a lot. So you want something that you're doing a fair size of job and you're getting a fair amount. Then the next one is number of clients or experts. Number of clients looking for experts with these skills. So that's very important. So for instance, now if it's Shopify, you will find a lot of clients looking for Shopify skills. So it means you have to develop Shopify skills to be able to enjoy that advantage of getting clients. Building a great profile. Now, this is another strong part, and this is where I spent a lot of time. Now, when you're building a great profile, you have to ensure that you build something. What's the word? You can't build to-do apps, calculator. Those portray you as a bootcamp developer. So, for instance, I remember on Upwork, when I wanted to get into Chrome extension, the first thing I did was to research the type of Chrome extension gigs, and I saw a gig about exporting from Amazon to Shopify, and I decided to do that as my first project. And when I finished it, I recorded, wrote a lot of notes, put the information there, and you get, so that tied to my profile as a Chrome extension developer. So you need to have a compelling picture. So before moving to the portfolio, you need to have professional images. There are some people I see that do that yellow thing. You can do that, but you make sure that you're facing forward. Then have a specific skill. Don't be too generalized. You can always create specialized profile. So just have a specific skill. If you're a software developer, you say you're a software developer for WordPress or for a specific tool set. Then accurate job title. Professional overview. For me, I like to be concise, straight to the point. My profile is not too large. It just says what I do, the things I do, and that's it. Because, a lot of times clients are scanning through 50 candidates, and you don't want to spend too much time on a profile that is too long to read. You just tired. You just log out man, you're tired. So you just make your profile concise, straight to the point. Keep it short and simple. Education and employment history. Those are the normal things you put. Then link to personal blogs and social media. Some platforms might not allow that, like Upwork, but that's just to help to build your. Then now the next one is investing in a skill. Now, before you enter some skills have barrier to entry. Like, for instance, now you can't just go into AI like that. You have to have some form of maybe machine learning and some strong maths background. So before getting to a skill, you need to analyze the skill you're going to enter. What amount of studying or information would it require? Then you also need to understand the demand for that skill in the labor market. So for me now, if I was going to look at a skill, I'll look at maybe HubSpot CRM, because I know there's a lot of demand for it. So I'll look at okay, what's required for this? Oh, it uses something similar to Twig templating. So that means with my JavaScript, I'll be able to transfer that. So you can see I've already identified the skill, the barrier of entry, what I need to learn, then the demand for it. You understand? And there are a lot of platforms lately, and I'll say these platforms are, so some are premium, some are free. You'll find a lot of YouTube free, but you need to invest in a skill, and that way you're investing in yourself. Then the next step is you need to create an Upwork account. These are normal things you should you'll be able to get by with. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Now, building an awesome portfolio. Now, this is the part where you have the chance to showcase your best work to the client. And for me, what I tend to do is that for every portfolio I do, I tend to be descriptive about like what I did, what were the challenges. Also, I record video. So if I'm doing Shopify, I'll show screenshots of my IDE. I'll show screenshots of the UI. Then I'll record a video to prove that I was actually the one to build it and everything. And once you have that, also another thing that I also learned from Remote Oliver is that for your portfolio, the cover image, you have to, back then I was developing cover images like a developer, but you have to have a bit of marketing sense to be able to develop it. So something catchy. In the second video that I'm going to create, we're going to do that. So where you make it a bit catchy and such. Then, for non-tech, you have to have your proof of work, put it right there. Let everything show. You want to give them like visual competence, that you are competent in doing this. Now, finding jobs and submitting proposals. This is the meat of the problem. Now, in this one, I'm going to be very, very deliberate in explaining this. So, before you find work, what I tend to do is, for instance, I'm a Chrome extension developer. I'm going to first set my filter to Chrome extension development, to Chrome extension, so I can see all Chrome extension developers. I mean, Chrome extension jobs. Yes, these skills are there, but the personal tips is what I'll focus on. Now, the job metric is what's important. So the first thing is you need to understand is that for you to have a strong chance, you need to be among less than 10 proposals submitted. And if you're not among that, you need to also check last viewed by clients, because I realized that, wait, if the last view of clients is 2 minutes and I submit, in this generation, there's this FOMO thing where you see a notification, you're compelled to want to click on it. So if it's around 2 minutes or 50 seconds or 5 minutes, I would submit the proposal even if there's 50, because I know that the chances of the client wanting to see, because if he has 50 proposals and he's still viewing it, and if last view is still 5 minutes, it means he's still looking at it for something. So I will still submit, because it means like the chances of him getting to open it is high. Now, it's easier if there are less than 5 proposals, because meaning it's easier to go through 5 proposals than 50. And this is a bonus tip I should also mention. Even if you see 50, a lot of those 50 sometimes are AI. And sometimes a lot of those are people that just automate, like they do a lot of job automation. So the job descriptions they might write towards the proposal might not even, because I've created a job on Upwork and I've received a lot of proposals that didn't even have anything to do with the job I posted. So sometimes you shouldn't allow that discourage you, but at the same time you should also be aware of the number. Now, payment verification, you need to be sure that the client has verified payment. However, if a client's payment is not verified, what you need to also check is when did they register. So it's possible that they might have registered that same day or 2 days ago, and it takes some time before their payments can be verified. I think 2 days or so. So it doesn't always mean like a client whose payment isn't verified is a scam. It could just be like they just registered and it's not yet. Also, another thing I look at is client history. So if a client posts a job for $1,000 and that's the first job he has posted, or the second job he has posted, and the first job he has posted is like $5, and the last time he worked on the platform was like 5 years ago, it just lets me know that the chances of this being a successful project might be. So yeah, you just need to just do that. Then use metric to identify niche skills. So what does that mean? Once you search for instance, now when I search for Chrome extension, I'll do the filter. So the filter will show you the amount of jobs available. So for Chrome extension, at most, on an average, you'll see like 300. But if you go to WordPress, you will see close to maybe 50,000 or so, because WordPress is a lot. So that lets you know that you have chances in certain categories than certain categories. So it helps you decide where you want to apply for jobs. You understand? Then I also added some resources, that you can. I just added some resources in case you want to read additional things, and yeah. And I think we're almost at the end. So yeah, when I created this was for, but you could ask questions in Twitter and such. But when I created this, that was for that and such. So with this, in the next video, I might create that tomorrow. It's going to be like a practical video where I will go through Upwork and show you how to get gigs and such. And so yeah, I just added a word of encouragement for you guys. You're capable of more than what you know. Choose a goal that seems right for you and strive to be the best. However, how hard the path, aim high, behave honorably, prepare to be alone at times and to endure failure, persist, the world needs all you can. Because the thing about it is that freelancing, a lot of people will want to make freelance like, oh, rainbows and sunsets, but no, it's kind of tough and you need to. The only reason why I created this slide is so that way you have a framework towards how you apply for gigs or how you search for gigs and such. And it's not just towards Upwork. Sometimes LinkedIn, you might just search LinkedIn, like follow recruiters and everything. So you just have to. So once you're able to identify this will be able to allow you to, or encourage you to create a framework towards getting gigs and such. So that's it. Take care, guys, and I hope this helped. Bye.